In my group policy management console, I'm already on my domain, rtsnetworking.com, but if I click this linked group policy objects, you can start to see the processing order. So here, I can see the default domain policy is link order 1, Power Options is link order 2. That is significant because if you click one tab over on the inheritance, it's the same. Default domain is 1, Power Options are 2, so they're in that same order. But on the Group Policy Inheritance tab, it says precedence. The way precedence work, the lower the number, the higher the precedence. Specifically meaning if there is a conflict between some setting in Power Options and in the default domain policy, the default domain policy would win because the link order has it as number 1, which also means the precedence is number 1. So really, that is the most powerful, not because it's the default, but because it's number 1. Well, if I go back to link group policy objects, and I'm just going to click on my default domain policy, link order 1, and I'm going to click this down arrow, and notice default domain is now number 2. If I go back to group policy inheritance, that change is reflected here. So now, Power Options, that GPO has the highest precedence, and my default domain would have the lowest. So now if there's a conflict, Power Options would actually win. So that can be adjusted. Now, if I click on my laptop's OU under RTS computers, I linked mobile security settings to that OU. When you look at the policy here, notice the default domain is number 3. That would be the weakest. Then Power Options would be number 2. Number 1 precedence, mobile security settings, that will be the most powerful. So the further you go down the list, the more powerful it becomes. An OU policy by default is always going to be more powerful than a domain policy. The closer you get to your user accounts and computer accounts, the more powerful the policies actually become. But you don't have to remember any of that. What you need to remember is if you click on an OU that has users in it, if you're troubleshooting or trying to figure out how all this works, click on that OU and look at the group policy inheritance and your questions will be answered. You would know which policy has the highest precedence, the lowest precedence, so you'd know what the end result ultimately would be when all these policies get applied. Very easy view. Now, when we look at the laptop's OU, mobile security settings is the only policy linked directly to this OU. So I do know that I'm getting Power Options and default domain policy. I'm getting those through inheritance, and their location is at the RTS networking domain level. Where if you click on linked group policy objects, you see any GPOs linked directly to your location. Now, in my case, that's just the mobile security settings, where the inheritance will show you policies linked to your location and the ones you inherit from above. So pretty interesting, and it kind of avoids a lot of the memorization about the local site domain OU. This just cuts through all of that and shows you exactly what the end result is when you look at your inheritance tab. So very useful. Also, keep in mind, when we talk about this, these policies actually blend together. So if there is a setting in Power Options that you have enabled, like your power plan, the mobile security settings does not have a power plan setting defined in it. So that setting from this Power Options precedence 2 would actually take effect on your machine. The only time precedence is important is when there is a conflict. For example, if I said your active power plan is a power plan I created in the Power Options GPO, and then for some reason, I went to mobile security settings and I created a power plan there and I said, that's your active power plan. Well, you can only have one power plan active at a time. So now you have a conflict. The same exact setting is defined in 2 different policies. The one with the highest precedence, again, the lowest number, would be the setting that actually takes effect. So in that instance, whatever mobile security settings defined that was in conflict would actually win. Other than a direct conflict with the same exact setting, all these policies apply, they blend together, and you get your overall group policy configuration.